Welcome to This Explainer. Look, we've all heard the fairy tale romance stories, right? Well, today we are stripping all of that away to look at the calculated, clinical reality hiding right underneath. We hear so much about toxic relationships these days, but we are zeroing in on what is arguably one of the most insidious psychological traps out there.
Imagine this. You meet someone and bam, they're showering you with gifts, hitting you with those good morning texts every single day, telling you they've never met anyone quite like you. They make you feel like an absolute soulmate from day one. And I mean, it feels amazing, right? But what if I told you that this so-called perfect love isn't perfect at all? What if all those beautiful flowers are actually just a down payment on your future misery?
So let's get right into part one, the fairy tale illusion. What exactly is love bombing? Because love bombing isn't just someone being, a little extra or overly clingy. No, it is a literally weaponized form of affection. Think of it like the honeymoon phase, but completely on steroids. And what's really crucial to understand here is that this is almost always the very first stage of a narcissistic abuse cycle. It's a totally intentional, overpowering display, and it's meant to completely influence and disarm you.
And honestly, the biology behind this trap is absolutely fascinating. See, as humans, we are quite literally wired for connection. So when someone intensely mirrors your interests and validates your whole existence, your brain doesn't just feel happy, it releases this massive flood of dopamine and oxytocin. So you aren't just falling in love, you're actually developing a powerful biochemical addiction to this person.
Which brings us to section 2, the 3 dark stages, or the anatomy of the trap.
This trap progresses through 3 pretty inevitable phases. It always kicks off with the euphoric hook of idealization, then it inevitably drops into a cold devaluation, and ultimately, it ends with a devastating crash known as the discard. Let's break down exactly what's happening in each of these steps.
Okay, so the crucial point of this first stage, the idealization, is the overwhelming intensity. We're talking constant, 24/7 communication. They're running this soulmate script, basically telling you over and over how special and completely different you are. But pay really close attention to this third point, future faking. This is when they start, say, planning your wedding or booking a romantic trip to Paris by the second week of dating. It's totally designed to lock in your commitment fast.
But then, once they know you're hooked, once you've, cleared your schedule and really committed to them, the shift happens. That love bombing just abruptly stops. All those endless compliments suddenly turn into constructive criticism. Their warm behavior goes completely cold and distant. And suddenly you're left there totally desperate, just trying to figure out what on earth you did wrong and working tirelessly to earn back that initial love.
And finally, we hit the crash, the discard phase. This reveals the darkest truth of all the stages. You see, when you're no longer useful to them, or the absolute second you start setting boundaries and questioning their erratic behavior, they just drop you. The really harsh reality here is that they never actually loved the real you. They only loved the control they had over you.
All right, section 3, red flags versus real romance. How do we actually spot the difference?
You really have to notice the stark contrast here. First off, a healthy romance develops naturally over time, right? But love bombing, it feels like a forced, chaotic whirlwind. A healthy partner is going to completely respect your boundaries and your no. A love bomber, on the other hand, gets deeply offended or acts hurt if you need some space. Healthy love is steady, it's predictable. Love bombing is this crazy roller coaster of extreme highs and incredibly confusing lows. And finally, real love wants to know the real you, while love bombing just shoves you onto this unrealistic pedestal that you never even asked for.
I want you to really remember this key takeaway. Love bombing is an instant forest, but it has no roots. If it feels way too good to be true, honestly, it probably is. Healthy, enduring love just takes time to grow. Moving to section 4, the psychological aftermath and surviving that crash.
Remember that biology we discussed earlier? Well, this is exactly where it comes back to haunt you. Because your brain was basically conditioned for incredibly high levels of praise and attention, the sudden withdrawal of all that dopamine creates what psychologists call a trauma bond. And this withdrawal literally causes actual physical pain and severe anxiety in the victim. It's not just in your head.
So victims are just left completely reeling. You experience this intense cognitive dissonance, basically trying to reconcile the sweet person from month 1 with the monster they suddenly became. You're also facing severe isolation, which, by the way, was carefully orchestrated during that honeymoon phase to pull you away from your support network. And tragically, you experience a total loss of personal identity. You've spent so much energy just trying to please them that you kind of forget who you were before they even entered your life.
Now for the most important part, Section 5, Disarming the Love Bomb and How to Protect Yourself.
You can absolutely protect your peace by keeping these 4 steps in mind. First, actively test those boundaries early on. Second, refuse to rush into labels or moving in together or big financial commitments, just slow it right down. Third, pay really close attention to how they talk about their past. If literally all of their exes are crazy, yeah, that is a massive red flag. And fourth, always trust your gut.
Let's actually look at a practical way to test that first step. A great test early on in dating is to see how someone reacts when you simply say no or tell them you're busy hanging out with friends. A healthy person? They'll tell you to go have fun, and they'll actually mean it. But a love bomber? Oh, they will try to guilt trip you, make you feel terrible, or act profoundly hurt that you aren't spending every single waking second with them.
And when it comes to trusting your gut, I love this quote. We've all been taught to chase butterflies in romance, right? But sometimes those romantic butterflies aren't excitement at all. They are actually your nervous system ringing an alarm bell, warning you of danger. Your body very often recognizes manipulation way before your conscious mind ever catches on.
Look, if things are moving way too fast, don't ever be afraid to just step back, hit the brakes, and breathe. Real love is a slow burn. It is built on mutual respect, consistency, and time. It absolutely does not need to explode like a bomb to be deeply and genuinely felt.
As our source material beautifully reminds us today, if you have been through this, you are absolutely not alone. And more importantly, you deserve a healthy love that builds you up and grows with you over time, not some wild obsession that consumes your identity and leaves you totally empty.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to reflect on today. As you navigate your own relationships and meet new people, ask yourself, are you building a strong foundation that grows with you, or are you wandering blindly into a beautiful forest that has absolutely no roots? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay safe out there, stay aware, and keep learning.